Okay, today we are going to determine whether we have a function or not. So in order for a relation to be a function, it must meet two criteria. So the first criteria is it must have a relationship between the input values, or the x's, and the output values, the y values. In each input, we have exactly one output. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. So here we have our mapping rule, and we notice that 10 is mapped to 15. We notice that 20 is mapped to 45, 30 is mapped to 25, and 40 is mapped to 35. So again, this is called mapping notation. Okay, so we have our x's here, our inputs, and we have our y, the output. So each input has one output. So yes, this is a function. Okay, our next example. So for our x's and y's, so 2 is mapped onto 20 and 2 is mapped to 40. So this is not a function because 2 has two outputs. Okay, so 2 cannot be mapped to 20 and to 40. Okay, the next one, so each input is mapped to an output, so A to X, B to Y, C to Y, D to Z. So yes, this is a function. Next, X is mapped to 5, Y is mapped to 5, U is mapped to 5, V is mapped to 5, and L is mapped to 5 or 1 or whatever that input is. So yes, each input has one output. So this is a function. This example, on the other hand, we have 3 is mapped to 0, 3 is mapped to 2, to 4, and to 6. So this is not a function because 3 has 4 different outputs. Okay, the next example. So the problem with this one is C does not have an output, so this is not a function. Okay, so C does not have an output. Okay, let's move on. So the second criteria in order to be a function is the relation must pass what's called the vertical line test, and we're going to call this VLT for short, okay? So if we look at graphs this time, if I were to draw a vertical line, because I hit the function 2 times, this is not a function. Because I hit the parabola 2 times, it's not a function. So we're going to say it fails the VLT, so it fails the vertical line test. Okay. Next example, if I were to draw vertical lines, doesn't matter where we draw the vertical line, it just hits the function 1 time. So this is a function, it passes the VLT. Okay, a circle that will fail the VLT, so it's not a function. Okay, passes the VLT, so function. Oops. Okay, that's it for that lesson.